Hello everyone, this is part 30 of What If Naruto Had a Hug That Changed Everything, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Hey, Twitch, you love birds, Twitch. Just so you know, Twitch, the funeral is later, Twitch, tonight. Ino informed while struggling deathly hard to sound humble. Oh, why thank you, Ino dear. You can go now, Sakura said in a very obvious, in your face, B type of fashion. Easily catching the blunt end of this attitude, Ino's face was suddenly flushed with red. With only a half of anger of which she was uncertain why she possessed, the blonde female stormed out of the hospital. Any of you good folks out there could tell that Sakura wanted Ino to see her Frenching Naruto. The smirk on her face only proved it. Later that evening, at the Yamanaka household, a soaking wet Ino slammed her bathroom door shut as she emerged from her hour-long shower. Wearing nothing more than a small white towel. The blonde had actually considered that a long shower would help her sort out her thoughts and feeling about what she had saw earlier that day and feel a little better about it, but she was wrong. Oh sure, she was able to sort out her thoughts, but the more things made sense, the angrier she became. This, just like feeling helpless, was another thing that Ino hated to feel, genuine anger, real anger. It was as though a burning lump of coal settled within her heart. Yukari Yamanaka zipped down the hall to see what the commotion was all about. Normally she would deduce that someone was really pissed off and would have simply carried on with her business, but after certain events with a monster, she easily decided that she could never be too careful, especially when her only daughter was at stake. Once the turquoise-eyed women entered the fray, she was relieved to see no evil, blood-guzzling creep devouring her offspring, but was simultaneously concerned as to why her door was slammed. Ino, I hate her. Yurari slightly flinched back at that sudden outburst. She had seen her daughter angry plenty of times before, but today was an especially recognizable carry-on. And considering what Ino had just said only seconds ago, the blonde mother couldn't help but smile. Why, Ino, whatever could be the problem, Yukari said with an all-knowing look on her face. With the voice of another coming into play, Ino was snapped out of her blind flash of rage before whipping her head to its direction, immediately covering herself. But when she saw that it was her mother, she relaxed, yet retained her burning scowl. Oh, hi mom, she greeted rather awkwardly. Yukari came closer to her daughter. What is with all of the commotion, dear? You scared me half to death, she said without waning her smile in the slightest. At this, Ino inwardly cursed herself for being so careless. If there was anything that she didn't really like, it was talking to her mother about her problems when HSE was upset, and it pretty much showed on her face. What's wrong, Ino? Yukari asked with a little more motherly affection. Not too far from the Yamanakas, Sakura and the slightly bandaged Naruto were walking side by side, making their way to a place that the pink-haired female wasn't too pleased about. Both genin were decked out in simple black attire as they were prepared for the Sandaim's funeral. With Naruto wearing a long-sleeve shirt with shin-high pants and Sakura wearing a simple long-sleeve short skirt, they approached ever closer to their destination. With her arms crossed and a scowl on her face, Sakura addressed Naruto once more. Naruto, do we have to go through with this? I mean, it's not like you did anything wrong, she said in a last-ditch effort to stave away from this situation. No. Naruto bluntly rescinded, causing Sakura to frown a little deeper. If I screwed up somehow, then I don't want to have to feel like a heel by not doing anything about it. At this, Sakura's scowl slowly faded, replacing it with a slight smile of admiration. Damn it. Why does he have to be so good? She inwardly questioned. Besides, I already told you that you didn't have to come along, no. I can just. No. I mean, sigh. I can handle it, Sakura cut in, I guess it wouldn't be so bad. Back with the Yamanakas, Yukari sat upon a chair within her dining room as she watched Ino, who was far too angry to sit down, carry on with her tale. So far the story that she was hearing was very entertaining. At first, Ino made it seem like she was in some major crisis, but so far all her story did, was plaster a grin on her mother's face. Call it heartless if you will, but Yuhari was loving this, especially since this was perfect grounds for one of those annoying parental life lesson speeches. And you know what else? She totally did it on purpose. Who the heck does she think she is? Ino GSED with her eyes flashing with rage. Yuhari leaned her chin upon her hand and stared knowingly at the spitting image of herself. My, oh my. What an absolutely awful thing to do, she said in playful, mock agreement. You're tellin' me. It was like she was rubbing it in my face. The nerve of that. So, did he return the kiss? The blonde woman intervened. At this, Ino's mouth was left hung open. Those words immediately shut her up because of one simple reason. Naruto had returned that Akura's kiss. Even if it were a small return, she could tell that he enjoyed every moment of it. Her face reflected what she was feeling at that moment, so it was only natural that she frowned again at the thought of their kiss. Once she felt her own teeth clinch together, Ino's facial expression snapped with blatant surprise. What's wrong with me? She asked herself more than anyone else. Sensing this, Yuhari smiled even more. You don't know, Ino. You're jealous, she said in an overly joyous way, acting like everything was fine. Ino's cheeks flushed with a dark red color at those words. What? Me? Jealous? Cha right. Like I'd be jealous of that big-headed, ungrateful, bug-eyed, little temptreess, she unwittingly howled while foaming at the mouth. The contractions of Yuhari's lungs and stomach could no longer suppress the reaction of joyful enthrallment. She finally started to laugh. Hearing this infuriating sound, the blonde kunoiki glared at her mother. And just what is so funny, she yelled as her entire face was now turning a shade of red. Hey. Your little cheeks are puffed out, you're turning red, your nostrils are flaring, you're hyperventilating, and screaming up a storm about a girl whom, need I mention, you aided in her struggle for forgiveness and love. Now that she finally has her man, I can't see what the big deal is if you're not jealous, Yuhari pointed out. Ino was now pacing furiously. I'm not jealous. I just don't see why she had to rub it in my face like that. The least she could have done was thank me for setting her straight. Instead she had to go and French him right in front of me and all innocent, she GSED. So you're saying that you didn't like seeing Sakura-chan kissing Naruto-kun? The blonde mother questioned. No. I mean, yes. Well, you loved watching. Of course not. Oh. Then you'd much rather have Naruto-kun all for yourself so you could show Sakura-chan how ungrateful she is. Yes. Ino shouted before blinking twice at the thought of her mother's words. No. Stop putting words in my mouth, Mom. Yuhari crossed her arms and legs. Then why were you so upset? She asked. Ino stopped pacing. Because I just was, okay, she yelled before turning her back to her mother and crossing her own arms in a huff. At this, Yuhari could still only smile as she rose to her feet and approached her daughter from behind. Yeah, tart, and you're jealous, she persisted just before prodding her lower left side, gaining a ticklish reaction. Mom, I am not. Arta, poke. Ino reflexibly spin around to face her mother with her face grudgingly resisting the ticklish urge to laugh her ass off. Am not. Poke, Arta, poke. It wasn't long until Ino was unable to resist any longer, her back planted into the wall behind her as she slid to her bottom, at the complete mercy of her mother's tea. After a few seconds, Yuhari ceased her tea and remained knelt before her daughter, who was trying to catch her breath. So, are you feeling better now? She asked with an unwavering smirk. Still having a slight case of the giggles, Ino struggled to reply but remained as stubborn as ever. No, she retorted with a smile that she couldn't wipe off of her face. Knowing all too well that she successfully cheered her daughter up, regardless of what she just said, the satisfied woman began what she was best at. Ino, what did you feel when Sakura-chan said those horrible things to Naruto-kun back then? She said, completely changing the subject. Lucky for her, Ino easily fell for it. I was sad. And I was so angry with Sakura. She had reason to say those things, she said with clinged fists. Okay. And you already took the action you thought was necessary to set her straight, right? Of course. She deserved it. Especially since she was so stupid about it. I mean, sure. Naruto can be annoying sometimes, but the fact that he treated her with so much respect that she didn't deserve, it just. God, she deserved it. I see. And you talked to her about it more after. Yeah. Quote. And now she finally realizes how much he means to her. Ino's facial expression became sad. Yeah, she said. Knowing her daughter better than anyone else, Yuhari waited until the situation itself sunk in. Within time, the blonde Genon's body and expression sunk completely. Why? Why am I so sad? I should be happy for her, right? She questioned with a growing feeling of doubt in her heart. I don't know what to feel about this anymore. Yuhari could feel herself growing a bit sad at her daughter's words and opted to cheer her up again. Listen, little one, you did the right thing by bringing those two together. In your own way, you put Sakura's needs before your own, and because of that, you've brought her happiness. You should be proud, she reassured her daughter. Ino winced at these words. I know. But it's just that I don't know if it's what you want anymore. The turquoise-eyed Genon rose to her feet and stared down at her mother. Did I really do the right thing, Mom? She questioned. Yuhari rose to her feet as well. Well, that all depends, Ino. Have you always felt this way about Naruto-kun? She said. Ino's cheeks once again reddened as she flinched back. What are you talking about? Naruto and I are just. She trailed off. Mrs. Yamanaka smirked. Just, what? She irked. The young girl inwardly winced before turning her head away. Look, Mom, can we just stop talking about this? I can deal with it, really. But I just need some time for the surprise to sink in, that's all, she tried to assure her mother. Being as smart as she was, Yuhari would let this one slide for the time being. She placed a tender hand upon Ino's chin and lifted her face up to peer into her eyes. Of course, hun. Just remember what I've told you, and don't worry, she said as she began stroking her hair to comfort her daughter. In fact, the next time you see them, you should congratulate them for finding each other at last. Ino's face slightly cringed with doubt but knew in her heart that her mother spoke the truth. She finally managed to crack a genuine smile as she made a decision. Okay, she said before lunging forward in a surprising hug. Thanks, Mom. Yuhari returned the sudden embrace before pulling Ino off of her. No problem, kiddo. Just go and get dressed before you catch a cold, she said. The young blonde looked herself over and blushed at her absent-mindedness. She was still wearing nothing but a towel. Okay, she enthused before rushing off around the corner, down the hall and up the stairs to her room. Now that she was by herself, Yuhari let a sigh escape her lungs. To be young, she said. Knock, knock, knock. The blonde woman whipped her head to the door and frowned. Why, you ask? Well, it wasn't like she was surprised that someone would be knocking at her door, but it was the prospect of who would be waiting behind it. With her previously made decision validated, Yuhari quickly ran to the couch and retrieved a well-hidden kunai knife from beneath the cushion before proceeding to the door with extreme caution. Reaching for her doorknob one hand, she kept her other one concealed behind the door itself. Slowly turning the knob, she hesitated at first to fully compose herself. After a few seconds, she finally threw caution to the wind and opened the door, only to be met with two faces that surprised to say the least. Konnichiwa, Yamanka-san, the energetic voice of Naruto called out. Seeing such a refreshing face again, Yuhari carefully stashed the kunai away and greeted the young Jinchuriki. Naruto-kun. Konnichiwa, she returned the greeting when she finally noticed a frowning and cross-armed Sakura. What's wrong, Sakura-chan? Finally realizing that they weren't walking anymore, Sakura straightened herself out and smiled with a greeting of her greeting. Oh. Hi, Mom, she said. At this, Naruto whipped his head to Sakura's direction with a highly comical expression on his face. Wah, he said before flipping his sight upon Yuhari to see if he could even catch a resemblance. Both females chuckled at this before Sakura answered. I'll explain later, she said with a warm smile. HM. So what brings you two here, unless you're here to pick up Ino or something, Yuhari said. Naruto lightly shook his head. No. Actually, we're here so I can talk to Ino. I wanna make sure she's alright, he informed. I guess Naruto-kun caught the vibe, Yuhari thought before smiling. Okay then. Well, she's getting dressed right now. Mom. All eyes were directed back inside the house at the sound of the voice. What was seen afterwards would haunt Naruto and Sakura for the rest of the natural-born lives. Have you seen my hairband? I've been looking all over the place for it and I can't. Naruto. Sakura. What are you doing she asked rather absent-mindedly. Yuhari grimaced before she cleared her tea and motioned what was wrong with this picture to Ino. Having a spot of trouble getting the message, Ino unconsciously shifted a glance toward the guests, whom she was inwardly questioning the purpose of their being there. It wasn't long before Shush saw the looks on both of their faces that she became somewhat self-conscious. Nearly all of Sakura's face was scruned up to her forehead with her eyes flashing with spite and her mouth hanging off of her skull. While Naruto, well, his eyes were protruding out of their sockets and his fingers were curled in front of him. After a full 2 minutes of this scene, Ino finally wrapped her arms around herself and screamed with embarrassment, right as Naruto was being launched into the distance behind him by a powerful geyser of his own red nostril fluids, colliding with several trash cans. Mom, why didn't you tell me they would be here? Ino GSED trying in vain to cover her already exhausted unmentionables. Before Yuhari could respond, she heard what sounded like furious hyperventilation. She turned around and saw Sakura's nostrils flaring with anger as she glared atomic explosions at her blonde counterpart. You did that on purpose, Sakura yelled with her fists clinging to a nearly skin-piercing pitch. Keeping her towel upon her glistening body, Ino returned Sakura's glare. Oh, get over yourself. Maybe you should have called or something before darkening our doorstep with your she yelled. Yuhari's eye twitches. Go to hell, you slut. You're just jealous because I have someone to call my own now. Yuhari's forehead creases up. You thankless little. If it wasn't for me, you'd be all over Sasuke-kun right now. So shut the F up. Yuhari's lips pursed together. Well, how about trying to find your own man instead of trying to seduce my Naruto? Don't even start with that. Did it ever cross your warped mind that maybe he's interested in other people too? You stay away from him, you pathetic concubine. Well, if you're so determined, then go ahead and make me. No longer able to take any more, Sakura charged into the house and toward the blonde, Ino Pig, she roared. Not even minding to her towel any longer, Ino returned the pink-haired female's charge with equal ferocity. Billboard BROOOOOOW, she hollered. Okay, there were few things that Yuhari absolutely forbid. She was a fairly well-rounded person who always sought to be fair in the best way she could. She was naturally very tolerant and carefree when those particular traits were respected and upheld. But today her two daughters had made one serious mistake. That's enough. Without warning and with lightning quick reflexes, Yuhari zipped in between the two before their collision. She then slapped a strong grip upon Sakura's wrist, then quickly swatted Ino's head to the ground. Right afterwards, Yuhari guided the shocked Sakura past her and right over the downed Ino, sending her colliding into the backside of the living room couch, where she was left hanging and folded over. Marching herself to the right position between the two, Yuhari undid and slipped off her belt in a flash, making doubly sure that the metal buckle was out before she spun it twice and thwacked Sakura's defenseless ass, causing her legs to curl and her entire upper body to launch into the air. Sakura shrieked with tears in her eyes. Yuhari's unimaginable wrath was instantly redirected to Ino before she repeated this godless action to her, but only in an upward motion. I swear, a kid shouldn't have to be subjected to that kind of thing. With both girls now crying and rubbing their sore bottoms, the turquoise-eyed mother redid her belt before taking Sakura by the back collar and throwing her by Ino's side. No profanity in my house. Now both of you, corner. But, now, with one final burst of terror, the two young genin jumped to their feet and dashed to their ordered destination. Now alone to collect herself, Yuhari noticed her door still open before she approached it to shut it. But when she saw a still unconscious Naruto in the distance, sprawled among ton of garbage with a nosebleed stain, she managed smiled again before sighing. Yep, to be young, she said before going to aid our favorite blonde. Meanwhile, Nekoshi, I'm starting to get worried. Sensei has been at this for way too long, Kitsune whispered to her comrade. Stop worrying so much. You know just as well as I do how long this takes. Especially because of how long he's been incarcerated, Nekoshi quietly responded. It was true. Even after all of this time, Kuro remained on his feet after his previous outburst, was still only in the first stage of his ritual. The progress that he was making was starting to become a little tedious to his students, either that, or they were just getting bored out of their skin. This, however, did not save them from the condemnation of watching and waiting. Unbeknownst to them, Kuro could have ended this session hours ago if he wanted, but the truth was, he wasn't entirely sure whether or not Sarutobi, one of the only living creatures on this planet to provide him a healthy challenge back in the day, was truly yes. Plus, most of his focus was directed toward Konoha as he sensed what seemed to be a massive gathering. After a few more minutes of meditation, Kuro finally opened his eyes and smiled with evil affirmation and glowing red eyes filled with malice and bloodlust. Farewell, Sandaime Hokage, Sarutobi, my admirable adversary. Rest in peace. He chuckled. At this, Nekoshi and Kitsune turned from their sightseeing and to their teacher. However, right as they prepared to question the matter, they felt a massive rush of power surge through the area and along with it, the constant flashes of red and black chakra shooting off of Kuro. NNR. Grara. Mirira. GRRRARRAGHRRR NIRA. Gradually, the entire mountain and a massive portion of the surrounding land further darkened and dulled out in contrast as Kuro lamented his terrible roars. At this, Nekoshi and Kitsune smiled evilly. Kitsune, the rise to power has begun. Nekoshi, soon, we will finally witness his true rebirth. The evil Kuro continued his strenuous roars and grunts of effort as his chakra levels ascended to long-forgotten heights, flashes of powerful red and black further discoloring the land. Kitsune and Nekoshi, now we'll know for certain if he is as strong as before. The swirling clouds above steadily picked up in circular speed, cracking a small red opening in the center of it all. An ominous sard of bloody light shined down upon Kuro as the roaring flames of darkness from within consumed him with well-missed power. His glowing eyes illuminated and his roars became more fierce and demonic. His arms drooped to their sides as the power said unto him, quaking the heavens with his cries of fury. Seeing their surroundings becoming more and more distorted, Kuro's two students became a little concerned, and for obvious reasons. They had already figured out why he wished to take the risk of performing the ritual during a storm, knowing full damn well that the demonic power would negatively influence the forces of nature and destroy his body altogether, but that's exactly why they did not question it. Like this, he could use this chaos as a beacon, to send one very important message to the country that damned him to that abominably hellish prison. Kuro was back. Nekoshi, still, if he hadn't have decided to it like this, then things would be a lot quieter. Oh well. Thoughts were brushed aside by a sudden and monumental burst of several white lights. But these were not ordinary lights. No. These were the crying and TD souls of the thousands of men, women and children that he had devoured over the course of the last month or so. The echoing laments of the scattered specters, meshed with Kuro's dominant roars gave the surrounding environment a haunting forebode. Calm evil chorus plays. Kitsune whipped her head to her left and set her sights upon a small mound of stone where she had placed the mysterious seal. The relic started to glow red and with it, as did the swilling spirits of Kuro's victims. Growing silent for a short time, the monstrous man emanated a black, transparent sphere of energy, signifying that his powers were starting to peak. Kitsune hummed to herself in a worried fashion before snaking her hand to Nekoshi and held it tight. Nekoshi could see that his lover was really concerned for the well-being of them all. At this, he smiled gratefully, but was torn from that moment when Kuro began to roar with even more fury than before. The thousands of specters that swam through the air suddenly stopped in place before, one by one, they all converged unto Kuro's dark sphere in an erratic pattern, sending sharp sensations of agony throughout his body as he slowly ascended to the air. After what seemed like an eternity of suffering, the last soul meshed into the demonic man's being before he was suddenly swallowed by a red oval-shaped sphere that was utterly brilliant in light and definition, further distancing the already. The bolts of lightning that had ravaged the skies before, were now at an uproar, striking the earth below while still illuminating the blackened skies. To his faithful students, Kuro's complete rebirth will surely unleash the wrath of hell upon his enemies. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.